Hello and welcome, everyone. I am Kathleen Long, and I am the Vice President of Business Operations and Strategy for RepairPal, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Yelp. And I'm really excited today for this conversation. I'm going to be talking with the Senior Director for Auto Lending and Product Strategy at PenFed, and her name is Stephanie Roberts. Now, Stephanie is a great guest, and we have a ton of things in common. So I have a background in financial technology, and I partnered with credit unions at my last two jobs. So it's exciting for me to be able to do it again. Often Stephanie and I are both the only women in the room. We share a passion for consumers and doing the right thing, particularly around the care and repair of their car. And Stephanie and I both built our careers from the ground up. She's phenomenal, and I would like to welcome her to this webinar.
Thank you, Kathleen. It's so exciting to be here and excited about the conversation. As you said, I'm super passionate, not just about purchasing a vehicle, but the full life cycle of not just your loan, but the experience. I think all of us have been in a place where that has caused a little bit of stress. So excited about talking today.
Yeah, that's great. And you are growing your career by executing on that passion. So that's fun to watch. So as you know, Stephanie, many organizations interact with drivers at a single point in time. Maybe they're financing the initial transaction, or maybe they're, insuring a driver, or maybe they're helping with a refinance transaction or something along those lines. But actually, as we know, vehicle ownership lasts for years. Average age of the car on the road continues to ratchet up every single year. And so we're up over 12 years old for cars on the road. And honestly, because they're, a lot of times people have been very intentional about financing their auto with PenFed or somebody along those lines, many of the most stressful moments actually aren't happening during that moment of the transaction. Sometimes those are the pleasant moments, the buying the car, or, saving a little money by refinancing the car, or what have you. Stressful moments kind of happen later. So talk to me a little bit about your point of view, what typically happens after the customer, either buys or refinances the vehicle, and how you're thinking about helping them in that life cycle.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. We obviously, as a finance type company, a credit union, we're very passionate about our consumers' financial well-being. So during the financing portion, like the upfront portion, as you called out, it's like a happy experience. You just got your new car and you're driving around. And something like, my point of view is that a repair comes, or some type of inconvenience with your vehicle that causes you stress. A lot of times that's correlated to some sort of financial impact. So unexpected repairs cause that stress because they're so costly. And that's what we really like about our new relationship with RepairPal, is it gives you transparency around the cost of that before you're ever walking into a repair shop. So it lightens that stress and helps us partner with repair shops that are trusted and valued. So are giving our consumers confidence before they walk in that they're going to be taken care of is so important to us, because again, directly linked to their financial health. Going into a repair shop and getting a $5,000 bill when you weren't expecting it is really hard to stomach. So we're passionate about bringing that into their experience with PenFed and how we can help.
Yeah. And so what opportunities are you seeing to help consumers in that area? Because it is, some of the people in this webinar may know the cost of auto repair is actually rising much faster than inflation. And it's gone up about 85% in the last 4 or 5 years. And so it wasn't like it was cheap before, but it's even more expensive now. And so how do you think about that?
I think as a financial institution that has a variety of products, we can leverage things like our PenFed credit card to absorb some of that immediate stress. How can we help you take that repair and extend the payment so you don't have to pay it all at one time? And I think another strategy that we have is, like, we sell our own warranties, if you will. So how do we marry that with the service and repair side of things to take care of a consumer so it's less of a financial burden? So the way that we're thinking about the experience is more holistic. How do we get you into your auto loan, but then take care of you on the backhand side and help you financially with those repairs as well? Again, I think that the partnership between RepairPal and PenFed is so powerful because we want our consumers to know that we're there for them after they start their auto journey. Like it's not just one, like a singular transaction, you're coming back to us more. And what we're doing on the back end, as far as like communications, is reminding consumers that we're here. So after they get their auto loan with PenFed, they'll get a series of communications, and a handful of those communications will talk about their RepairPal relationship. So they know it's there when they need it. So it's that peace of mind as well.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, credit unions obviously have to care a lot about what the customer experience is, because that's the whole reason someone has chosen, that as their primary banking relationship. So what other aspects are you thinking about in the vehicle ownership journey beyond, that initial or originating transaction?
Yeah, I think like the way that I'm like thinking about it, the way that we're evolving our journey is a lot of times when you get an auto loan, you just set your payment. It's like set it and forget it. So how do we get consumers to interact with our like online experience to remind them that they have these products? So creating some type of portal for them to log into and see things like their car value, their Carfax report, upcoming repairs, and how do we like, hey, you should get an oil change. Your car is due for an oil change. Insert RepairPal for a good experience at a shop that is somebody that they can trust and know that they're going to get a good price. And within that experience, have them understand like their warranty coverage and like how to utilize it and how it helps them financially. And then if they can't, like if it's something that's not covered and they need another financial product, help them in that journey on the back end. So it's really culminating that experience. So you're naturally like driving loyalty. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase like service drives loyalty. Like it's something that dealerships participate in. When you're in their service shop, they're really like taking care of you, and that care drives your next purchase from that same dealer. And we're having the same like mentality. How do we keep you like in our consumer life cycle, if you will?
Yeah, that makes sense. Certainly, I know over years and years of doing various kinds of go-to-market teams, including customer service and customer support, that the more stressful a moment is, the bigger the opportunity to actually build loyalty, assuming that you're standing side by side with your customer in that moment. And I know that's something that you and your team certainly understand.
Yeah, we're really excited about like the opportunity to introduce more products and services to help consumers on the life of their loan. Very recently, we're looking at like rebranding, how do we go to market, and saying that PenFed is here for you, not just from a finance perspective, but to help you shop, to help you own. Like that messaging is really important to us. And we're really excited to like bring it to life, if you will, and start offering those products and services to really take care of our members. I think building trust is super important here. Finances aren't always something that a consumer is like in touch with. I think you and I like know a lot about car shopping. We know a lot about car ownership and finance, but it's not somebody's traditional day to day. So when something does come along that's stressful, like a repair, how do we help them as like a valued partner? And I think that that trust aspect really does drive loyalty.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm assuming that, this is the kind of thing that you're also hearing from your customers that they really want to get out of their relationship with you, which is what's driving, this conversation forward. And so tell me a little bit more about, how you're thinking about the combination of digital tools and human support to enable these moments.
Yeah, I think we, as an institution, we like to lean on the digital side of things because that's where our consumers are telling us they want to interact. So making it easy to do so. So right now with our relationship with RepairPal. We have like a member rewards section on our PenFed.org site, and they can easily interact with that to find their repair shop and talk to an expert, these things, making it super easy. And then everything that we do on our .org site, we're rendering from a mobile perspective. So it's easy for them to interact with their phone. But I think we've all been in a place where it's so stressful we're making phone calls. So also having that support for our members to call in and get the support that they need is important for us. So we do have really great team that takes care of that. And then I think from like my perspective, it is like a culmination of those two things. It's not just a one size fits all. But I think overarchingly, we're leaning into the digital space just because of how consumers like to interact. And I think like long term, like all the agents and things like that is where we would love to really support our consumers.
Yeah. And I think once you build that reputation for having really great, human-led support, then that becomes something that your members really rely on. I'm convinced that part of the reason people have moved to digital is just because companies got so bad, or they degraded their level of service and their human-led interactions so much that we got a little tired of, endless phone trees and, really uninformed support on the other end of the line and things like that. And I know that's another place where RepairPal and PenFed are lockstep with our Card Genius service. We thought, again, if you had a friend that you could call on the phone that knew a lot about cars and could just tell you, what a best next step might be and help you in booking the exact right repair shop for your needs, or let you know whether your car is safe to drive into the shop or that kind of thing. How helpful or how useful would that be when you really have those kinds of questions and you need a trusted advisor, which is why we made that available to, our partners, customers and members, as something that they can access for free, because when you're in those moments, you really do just need a pal, right? And so that's putting that human-led support back in, while at the same time, offering digital booking and other kinds of things. I think the combination is particularly powerful.
It's a really good point. Like, I've never really considered the fact that people are going online because they got frustrated of sitting on hold for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like kind of an aha moment for me. So really cool call out. But I also want to talk about like my personal experience with RepairPal. I drive a giant truck. I live in the country, and it's something that I really like. It's like a little kitschy thing for me. But it was recently making some weird noises, and I didn't know what to do. So like when I was in reverse, it was making kind of like a creaky, grindy almost noise. And I thought it was my brakes, and I was able to utilize the Car Genius line to say, like, what am I doing? Should I drive it? All of those kinds of things. And it was super helpful, because me thinking it was just my brakes, or like, oh, what it sounds like is because you're not like pressing on your brakes. It sounds like more of a ball joint issue. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But then taking it to the shop and getting that fixed and having that reassurance, it was a really cool experience for me. And I'm excited for our members to get the same kind of treatment, because it's like, it makes you feel more comfortable. To your point, like, you don't want to drive a car that's not even safe to drive to the shop, and giving you that comfortability and understanding going in and like deep diving. I really do appreciate the experience that I had personally. And I'm excited for our members to have the same, treatment.
Yeah, we're very focused on that. Not all mechanics are known for what I call a car side manner, but some of those that are ones that are currently working for RepairPal. And I think that's just really important, knowing that, there's an advocate that you can have in what's going to ultimately end up being, a difficult conversation. And that's the reason why, in the other kind of complicated space, healthcare, that's why healthcare advocates exist as well, right? So it's to help you navigate things that are complicated or outside of your own expertise in a way that you can trust and rely on. So I'm really, obviously passionate about that. And so how are you thinking about, other ownership support tools that are in your product suite, or, that you're thinking about creating for your members?
Yeah, I think just yesterday we had a workshop internally with like our teams to ideate what this could look like. So like I said, this shop finance own is really like a brand that we're leaning into. Like we want you to come to PenFed and feel supported through the entire life cycle of your loan, not just that financing piece. We're looking at like tools within your experience, integrating with valuation sources, with maintenance schedules, even with like car washes and roadside assistance. Like, how can we take care of you so good in every aspect that goes along with your car? So there could be a world where, you're driving down the road and you get a push notification from PenFed that's like, hey, why don't you stop into APC car wash for a discounted car wash or a car wash on us? And that's just something that makes you feel good. And then leaning into things like, if I'm a consumer and I get into a car accident and you bought our gap insurance, how do we say, like, we're going to take care of you financially. Here's your portal, file your gap claim. But guess what? With that gap insurance that you purchased with us, we're going to waive your deductible and we're going to give you $1,000 towards your new vehicle. Really taking care of consumers with every aspect. One of the other things that we're looking at from like a shopping experience is like, we have so much data. There's all this data out there. How do we leverage like lifetime events to strategically offer you a new vehicle or an upgrade when something happens in your life? There's like strong correlations, for example, between purchasing a home and then getting a new car, or getting a promotion and getting a new car. So leveraging that from the shopping side of things. So we're really excited. Again, I think like I keep drawing this infinity loop. Keeping somebody in that life cycle. So you're like shopping, financing, and then owning it is like the whole other side. And how do we drive such a great experience that during your ownership life cycle, you're ready to purchase a new car, you're naturally just going to come back to us and stay with us because we took care of you so well. And that's really like the vision that we have here. And I'm really excited because it's not something that I see frequently. Specifically in the credit union space, I think we're leaning into it more because we have like that mission to take care of our members. And I'm really passionate about that. Like financial freedom is important, and car ownership and freedom in my mind are like kind of correlated. So you have like, you turn 18, you get your driver's license and you're ready to hit the road, and there's this level of freedom. And how do we help you financially to leverage that freedom even further from ownership and repairs and maintenance? So we're really excited about that. And I couldn't be more passionate.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that you said there that I think are particularly powerful. What I've noticed, and we have a lot of partners in a lot of different areas, but what I've noticed is that some companies are selling products to consumers that they actually hope that consumers sort of forget about, or they maybe bought them because there were a bunch of benefits in them, but then they're hoping they really don't use those benefits. Like the average consumer is covered by something like 2.3 different roadside programs, but consumers don't always know that. And so sometimes they're paying out of pocket for roadside. They didn't realize it was bundled in with XYZ credit card, or their insurance company has it, or, whatever. They're forgetting that they have these little, kind of ancillary, benefits or features of some of the products that they're buying. And then what after that is that they're paying too much for something later because they didn't even realize. And it sounds like what you at PenFed are doing is the opposite, that you really want to find those just-in-time moments where you can remind people about, the different aspects of your car ownership journey and the different products they have that might be supporting them in various ways in that journey. And so how do you think about that? Because obviously, strong utilization of your products means that you're, paying out on that gap insurance and, that kind of thing. And so how do you think about the value of a customer in that context?
Yeah. And that is a really good call out. I think with PenFed or here, the full transparency and leaning into that is so important, and something that I hadn't been used to in like my prior life in the auto space. I think we've all kind of heard things like the 5-finger close where you're not even seeing the products that you're purchasing. They're kind of like hiding it from you and don't really know what you're getting. We have the opposite mentality. We really want to tell consumers this is what you have with PenFed and this is how you can use it. And this is why we're going to take care of you. I know that from like a cost benefit perspective, that sounds confusing because everybody wants to make money, but we want to make money only when our members are taken care of. Like that part is never going to change for us here. So we want them to leverage our products, and we have partnerships that help us with those. And we're really trying, like we said at the beginning of this conversation, the trust is important and the transparency is important. So I know RepairPal is the same way. Being able to show a consumer the price of a repair before they walk in and stand behind that is so powerful, because I've walked into a shop and not, they tell you one thing over the phone, but then your car needed 12 other repairs and you have this huge bill and you weren't expecting it. And that creates like a bad taste in your mouth. We don't want that. We want to drive loyalty through this trust and ownership. And I think that helps us from a value perspective and drives not profitability from like the product level leveraging, but it drives value from you coming back to us and staying with us for a long time. And that's really what we're excited about with this journey.
That's awesome. And so given that, and given that you really do want people to take advantage of the robust benefits that you're offering them with the products that you're selling to them, how do you think about your communication strategy? Like you mentioned, the push notification, that was pretty juicy. How else are you thinking about making sure that people are aware of benefits, especially when they need to take advantage of those?
Yeah, I work closely with our marketing team here at PenFed, and they always call it an omni strategy. Like there's many pieces of the puzzle when it comes to marketing, and how do we stay in touch with our consumers holistically? So whether that be direct mail, email, website utilization, digital ads, when you're in your actual mobile experience, we have like dynamic tiled experience that's showing you an offer that's catered to you based on where you are. And then really leveraging those in different ways. So it's cool. Again, I mentioned data earlier, and I think the amount of data that we have is so healthy. We can see things like on your maintenance schedule when you're due and reminding you, sending you a text message, sending you that push notification, but also creating like an offering that's cool and makes sense for you, and like tying it into our other products is important. But even from like, I heard this statistic, like it takes you 7 times to recognize that you even saw a digital ad. So how do we show you a digital ad for awareness, but then give you something more personalized via text message or email? How do we leverage that data that says, hey, you've paid down your car 50%. This is the equity in your car. You could use that to upgrade. Like those kinds of messaging, I think resonates with a consumer. And we touched on it a little bit here at PenFed. We also do refinances. And one of the things that I think is really cool is we can tell when we can save you money on your monthly payment by using various data. So how do we go after you as our consumer? We know you have a car with another institution and say, hey, guess what? I can save you 100 basis points on your rate, which equates to $123 a month. Why don't you bring that loan to us here at PenFed? And then we'll help them be able to utilize these same products that we have for our consumers that are coming through our purchase channel. So giving them, the opportunity to purchase warranty and gap here with us at PenFed. And one of the things that we didn't really touch on yet that I think is cool about being in the credit union space is the cost of our gap and warranty products are a fraction of the cost that the dealer is selling them at. So being able to sell them those products at a lower cost and then saying also use them is super powerful to me. And we're really, really passionate about how we communicate with our consumers and making sure they know we're here for them regardless. Is a fun journey to be on.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, and like I said, that really is, that flies in the face of what a lot of the industry is doing. We have partners in extended warranty space. We know a lot about, how those policies are typically being sold, whether at the dealer or through financial institutions or what have you. And your strategy is really the opposite of that. But I think, when you think about your customer as a long-term investment versus a short-term, turning a profit in the moment, I think that's where the conversation, stands on its head, and where you start to adopt strategies like this. The nice part for people like you and I that are passionate about customers is it actually just makes the journey, the career journey, if you will, like so much more fun, because you know that you're actually empowered to help people, as opposed to, just trying to squeeze maximum profit out of them in a single interaction. And I know that you're very passionate about that, and it shows in the work that you're doing, which is awesome.
It's actually really cool to see like the evolution within the industry. I don't know if you feel the same, but like when I started, the dealer had so much leverage because there wasn't as much awareness. Now you can purchase a car fully online and get it delivered to your doorstep, that there's so much information out there that the consumer is so informed that they can leverage that in their negotiations, that it's changing the way dealers have to do business. They have to meet the consumer where they're at, which I think is a really exciting part of what I've seen over the years. And we recently made a partnership with TrueCar. So TrueCar has the same mentality, showing the transparency of price on their website is important to them, and really partnering to bring that experience together, I think has been fun to start to talk about. Like we all have seen like the Carvanas and the Teslas of the world, where it's so simple and everything's online. How do we participate as that market continues to change, right? Is there a world where consumers are buying everything online? I don't know. I don't know what that world looks like yet, but I've seen so much change. It's fun to try and keep up with it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm excited too. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is how, kind of cheap or whatever intelligence or data is. Because I think, that's an unlock. It used to be that you'd have to, as a small company, we would look at these data providers and we'd be like, oh my gosh, they want $1 million for this, data set that we know would be like an unlock for consumers or whatever. And because of AI and different abilities to like combine data elements together in faster and more robust ways, the data is just getting cheaper and cheaper. And what that means for those of us who are really obsessed about the customer experience is that we'll be able to give so much more robust information to consumers exactly at the time that they need it. A lot more, research oriented things about, what's going on or what's likely to happen next with their car, or all of these other things. I'm obsessed with the thought too about just having like a continuous conversation with the consumer that kind of never closes, right? It might skip channels, like to your point. Some of it might be over text, some of it might be over email, some of it might be over phone, because you really just need that personal contact to explain what's going on. But it's essentially our organization, your organization, in constant communication with each of the, consumers or members that you serve, which I think is an amazing thought.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Being like ingraining ourselves with the consumer during the entire life of them owning their car is really cool and different to think about. And the partnership with RepairPal is like naturally bringing that to life, which I think is really cool. I think the first day that we sent out our email to our members telling them we had access to this new partner and they're going to help with repairs, we saw this huge spike in interaction with that email itself. It was really, really exciting to see. It's almost like our members were wanting it and they didn't know they needed it. Like if you ever walked into Target and went through that little aisle at the beginning and you found all these things that you didn't know you needed until they were there. That's how I felt when I saw those numbers come through. I was so excited. Like we're giving something to our members that they want and they need. And that response was really inspiring, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, honestly, you got that response too, because you are so engaged with your members that they know if you're giving them something, it's a value add. I mean, like I bought my house here like 3 years ago, and the interest rates were kind of high at the time. So periodically the mortgage broker would reach out to me and say, well, here's the rates. Do you think it makes sense? And then we would have like a little chat. But I appreciated her doing that, because I don't want to be every day like refreshing interest rates in addition to all the other stuff that I have going on to decide when is the right time to refinance my house. I'm like, I want the person that I, trusted with the transaction in the first place to come back and tell me, hey, you might want to look at it today, and here's what I recommend that you do. And that's the power of being in a relationship versus a company just like shoving or marketing things at you, right? It doesn't even feel like marketing when she does that. And I know, look, she's going to benefit if I refinance my house, right? Of course.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to have a lower payment, not pay as much interest. All these good things are going to happen for me too. And so I'm relying on her to do that. So I think what, your members are clearly saying to you is that they value the solutions that you're bringing to them, obviously, and they want you to continue to bring those forward because they know they trust you, and they're, hoping that you'll continue to look after them in various ways. And so, what are you most excited about where you're kind of going next with all of this?
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I say this with like the most passion, as I always say, like, let's make the marketing message creepy in the best way, like so hyper personalized. They were like, how you think your Alexa's listening to you, like that's how I want to be, because it's important. You listen when it makes sense for you. You don't need to like you get 12 mailers about purchasing a new car. Unless I'm in the market for a new car, I'm not going to buy a car just because I got a piece of mail, right? Like that's a wild thought. So like, how do we get this data and then put it all together to be super hyper personalized, to say like, hey, it looks like, your typical Ford F-150 might need, brake pads and rotors every 30,000 miles. Here is your notification that says this is the price and this is the closest shop. And like that really resonates with people. And same from the purchase side, like being able to tell a consumer is on a website for an auto shopping, like I'm on autotrader.com and I'm looking at my Jeep Grand Cherokee, and then I go to my phone and I'm seeing a digital ad that says, hey, guess what? PenFed can offer you a great rate on your Jeep Grand Cherokee. Like that resonates because I just did that. So how do we leverage the tools and the data that's out there to really give that hyper personalized communication? Because you're right, we're badgered all the time with 100 different marketing ads, and we're consistently trying to sift through like, what do I need? What don't I need? That if it's a powerful message, you're like, oh my gosh, they know what I need. Like that's a really cool experience.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, the consumer expectations around all that just continue to ratchet up. The more that we are in those personalized relationships, the more we, kind of expect them across the board. I bought a car in California, and then I told the dealership that I bought it from, like, they were messaging me a lot to come and get my car serviced. And I said, thanks, but no thanks. Like, I moved out of the area. I don't live in California anymore. Appreciate it. I had to select a new dealership because of it. Y'all were great. Have a great time. And then I felt like, okay, after I've done this, they should flag my file. That communication should stop. Right. And it didn't stop, and it was very irritating. And then on the flip side, when it came time for me to, trade that in and get the new car and all of that, I first, of course, went to the company where I'd been having my car serviced, because I thought, this is, they know me now and they know my, car, and this will be a great experience and things like that. And then their lack of follow through was horrible. And I ended up getting the car at a different dealership because of that, because again, my expectations versus like many years ago when we didn't expect much from dealers at all or whatever has changed. And that's the reality of what's going on in the market, is that customers aren't going to let you get away with, being agnostic about who they are and not understanding, them, their family, their needs, their current situation. That's just not an option really anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Our CEO says all the time, like there are thousands of other lenders or ways for you to get your money. if we're not giving you good service, why would you come to me? You would go to the competition. So we need to treat you well, and we need to talk to you the way that you expect to be talked to and live up to those expectations in order to maintain your business. That's important, especially when you could go down the road and get it from somewhere else. We need to be better, right? Like we need to step up and do the things that we were saying we're going to do, and then talk to you in that manner that you'd like to be talked to. So we're really excited, right? Like this is a cool time to be in the car business. And I love the car business. I always say this all the time. Like I have done it my entire life. Like at 18 years old, I started selling cars, and my career has evolved over time. That I always say, if the car business ever went away, I'm not sure what I would do, because I love it. I'm so excited about it, because it is that the freedom of getting a car. My first job ever, we always used to say we're putting dreams in driveways. Like I still feel that way. I still very much feel that way. That buying a car is a special experience. You don't do it every day. And it's a big commitment financially. And when you're making that commitment, you want to make sure everything is right. You want to make sure you went with the right lender that's going to take care of you. And here we are saying, don't worry, we're not just going to take care of you when you're financing your car. We're going to take care of you the entire time. I think that's just a powerful message to a consumer. And you can really like value and trust and drive that loyalty. Like let's drive loyalty and bring consumers back to us because we treated them so well.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. Every time I go to, buy a car or make a major purchase like that, it's almost like being on a first date or something. My heart is pounding. I'm like a little shaky. I'm like, let me make all the right decisions. This is a big number,
It is a big number.
Yeah. And, I feel like I'm managing my finances okay. I know I could afford it, all of those things, but I still have that, that feeling of like both the excitement, but also the trepidation of like just making sure that I do everything right. And so, having somebody on your side where you don't feel like you're in this antagonistic relationship around those moments is, frankly, it's everything.
Yeah. And we see that in the data. Like we survey our consumers and we ask them questions when they come to us and get a pre-approval about like when they're going to purchase their car. And a lot of times people start shopping like 6 to 8 months before they're actually ready to purchase. And I think that's important to understand. Consumers want to make sure they're making the right decision with these huge purchases. To your point, it's a big number. I'm not going to sign up for that big number until I'm sure. And giving our consumers like the resources and the knowledge to make sure that they're making the right decision is so cool. And I think like we're even exploring like how do we keep you like that lead warm as you're shopping. Like you started shopping, you wanted to get your pre-approval, especially in this rate uncertainty, right? We thought rates were going to come down exponentially this year, and they haven't. So consumers are coming and they're getting their pre-qualification to see where rates are right now, to see if it's a good time to purchase, and have car prices gone down. There's this overwhelming amount of research, and let's keep that lead warm and help them stay educated and communicate with them. So that way, when they're ready, they're naturally just going to come back to us because we gave them all the information, all of the support, even during that beginning part of their journey. We were like, so the entire time shopping, financing, owning, we're not going to keep saying it because it's such a journey to be on. Auto ownership is a journey, and RepairPal is definitely a piece of that puzzle for us. To bring it back to like the very beginning of the conversation, unexpected repairs are stressful, and we want to make sure we take care of those consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. And no matter how well you take care of your car, I mean, components just break down. And in fact, the older the car is, the more that routine maintenance feels like repair. Like,
it does. Yeah.
At the 60,000 mile service, that's the water pump timing belt interval, right? Often for many cars, for example, and that's a mid to major, sort of mechanical repair in our definition set. So, so those things merge together, and it's just kind of a fact of life. And so, like you, we want to be there for people when they need help, selecting the repair shop throughout their repair shop journey, and then standing behind that experience with our pricing and satisfaction guarantees that we have at RepairPal. So that's the reason why I think, we've made such great partners and really excited to move forward with you all. So Any last thoughts you have for our webinar attendees here, Stephanie?
I just want to say thank you for the partnership and thank you for the opportunity to come here and chat with you today. I know that we have a lot of really cool ideas and things coming down the line here at PenFed, and we couldn't be more appreciative of the partnership and this opportunity to chat today.
Well, we feel the same way. Thank you so much for joining me, Stephanie. This has been an inspiring conversation. I appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who's watching, both live and hopefully in the future recorded version of this webinar. We appreciate you too.
Thank you.